name's Emma and I'm from the Paper Trail website. I'm here with the fabulous Juno Dawson.
Hello.
And I'm just going to ask a few questions.
Please do.
Very casual. So, your latest book is Mind Your Head. Could you just explain what it's about so people get an idea?
Yeah, so it's my new non-fiction title. It is, I would say, like an introduction to the very broad topic of mental health. I think mental health is something that will affect all of us at some point, but I think it's particularly relevant while young people are still at school for dealing with exam stress and anxiety, but then getting more serious as well, so looking at clinical depression and clinical anxiety, self-harm, eating disorders, addiction problems, and trying to really introduce young people to it, not only as a sufferer, but as a friend or as an ally of somebody who is suffering as well.
So, your books pretty much cover everything. What made you want to write this, like, directed towards a teen audience in particular?
Because a lot of my books had, like you say, touched on issues around mental health. So all of the above had dealt with eating disorders and anxiety and self-harm. But I think while it's nice to represent characters with mental health problems, there will always be a place for good non-fiction, because the internet can be very misleading and there can be a lot of nonsense on the internet. So I worked with a doctor because I'm not one, so I made sure that I worked with a clinical psychologist who was able to keep me straight, to make sure that I'm giving young people accurate, safe advice, because there isn't enough of that in the world of books.
So obviously writing for the young adult genre must be a lot of fun because you get to come to events like this. Why do you think events like this are important for the book community?
I think there are in the book community, and you know because it's you, is that, you know, it's a place for fandom, and, you know, there are YA fans, there are massive fans of books. And when I was a teenager, I would have loved something like this, where you can just go along and be with other people who really love books in the same way that other people love bands or films or TV shows. There is nothing wrong with having a fandom for books, and I think it's wonderful. And I love that YALC is kind of like this yearly celebration of YA fandom.
So you've obviously got quite a gathering over the last couple of years, especially this year. But I just want to know, what books inspire you, or what's your go-to favourite book, author, series?
Ooh. Well, there's authors that I would obviously be just reading immediately. Philip Pullman, Mallory Blackman, Patrick Ness. I'm increasingly becoming just a massive Holly Barnes fan as well. I think she writes with such a wonderful lightness of touch about really serious issues. But I'm always up for discovering new authors, and I think what I'm always looking for is something that I think I haven't read yet. And a couple of times this year there was Raziel Reed's And Everything Feels Like the Movies, and Claire Hennessy's Nothing Tastes as Good. They felt really fresh, and I'm always looking for fresh young adult fiction.
So when you, say, write a book like this, or you write some of your fiction books, what's that process like for you, personally?
Well, it's ridiculous. The more sort of famous you get, the more busy you get, the less time you have to write. So at the moment, my last two books have been written whenever I have a minute. So I've been writing in waiting rooms at train stations, on trains, at Gatwick Airport, at Heathrow, just wherever I can. So any structure has completely gone out of the window, because it feels like I'm always on the road, I'm always out meeting fans.
With your book being translated into so many different languages, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Obviously you've met quite a few fans from all over, so what's your favourite fan moment been?
Ooh. Well, there is always, obviously, the ultimate one is when you see somebody reading your book in public, and that has now happened. It happened a lot with the World Book Day title, Spot the Difference, because obviously you could buy that everywhere. You could buy it in the co-op, in Tesco, other supermarkets are available. And so that was really lovely to see people reading Spot the Difference in a way that very widely reading it. So I think that was pretty cool. And any time somebody comes up to you and says, "Excuse me, are you Juno Dawson?" It is kind of it really does blow your mind.
Yeah.
Wow, I guess I really do look like I do in my photos. Even with all the filters, I must look the way I do on Instagram. So that's good to know.
If you could choose one of your stories to spend the day with the cast of the characters, who would you choose? What set of characters would you choose?
I think it would have to be the gang from All of the Above. I grew very close to them because I spent a lot of time on All of the Above. I was sort of working away on All of the Above while also doing Under My Skin and while also doing Mind Your Head. So I spent maybe 2 years with that gang, and so I grew very fond of them, and they weren't really based on my friends in the way that the Hollow Pike gang was. So it was really nice to actually spend time with them, and I would love a night out with Toria and Holly and Beasley. I think we would get on.
Especially this year, you've been very active, you've been on a lot of TV appearances, but are you working on stuff at the moment you could give us like a little taster into?
Well, there will be an announcement very soon. Watch this space. We have already announced next year I've got my memoir coming out, which is, well, it is and it isn't. It's called The Gender Games, and it's all about what I think the damage gender constructs do. Not just to me, but to everyone. So that's definitely happening this time next year. That'll be out next summer. But there will be news soon.
I'm excited.
You should be.
Last question, sort of a little bit off topic. I've heard you're an avid Doctor Who fan.
Yes.
So, who has been your favourite Doctor and companion, like, thus far?
Well, I'm such a child of the 80s that, you know, for me, Sylvester McCoy and Sophie Aldred as Ace will always be my childhood favourites. But I think there was something about David Tennant and Catherine Tate that was gold. It was just gold. Catherine Tate lit up the screen as Donna, and I don't think I've quite forgiven Russell T Davies for wiping her memory of everything that happened. Sorry, spoiler.
So that's all the questions we've got.
I'd best get back to my queue. I have because people have been queuing for Holly.